What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video where today we're taking a look once again at the finals matchup from Brisbane Regionals, this time at the deck that took second place, Flaaffy Box. So here is the Lightning Flaaffy Box deck that was played to a second place finish in Brisbane by Joel Suriati, so congratulations to them for the placement. Much like the deck we featured on yesterday's video, we have the Zekrom from Brilliant Stars with that Wild Shock attack. It does 130 damage for 3 energy, it does 60 damage to itself, and then it leaves your opponent's Pokemon instantly paralyzed. It does also have lightning typing, which if you didn't know, Lugia V-Star is pretty good, and it does happen to be weak to lightning, so the Zekrom being able to hit for weakness, doing 260 damage, while it will be short of a KO on that Lugia V-Star. You do have ways of taking additional bench damage, notably through the Medicham V with that Yoga Loop attack that we're familiar with from the Urshifu days. You do also have Regieleki with Terra Spark, which can do bench damage to your opponent's Pokemon. You can also use Zapdos' lightning symbol to boost the damage done, so this will actually push it up to 140 prior to weakness, and then double that to 280 to take a clean one-hit KO on Lugia. Now, a lot of Lugia lists are also opting to include copies of Manaphy, Dunsparce, things like that, but then you can also just two-shot them with Wild Shock and leave them paralyzed in the process. So even if they do have some of these common counter cards to that weakness from Zekrom, you can still put out plenty of pressure with your one prizers, leave them instantly paralyzed. You also play other attackers to benefit from the Dynamotor from Flaaffy, notably being the Raikou V, which can also take one-hit KOs on lightning weak Pokemon with that Lightning Rondo. Has a little bit more HP than your Zekrom as well. And you have this Snorlax. We've seen this a lot included in Lost Box decks with that Thumping Snore to do 180 damage for 3 colorless energy, which means you can just Dynamotor twice, attach from hand, Dynamotor 3 times, some combination of that to put energy on your Snorlax and actually hit for 180 damage, again with just a one prizer. Since Dynamotor does have to be used on bench Pokemon, we have cards like Escape Rope, plenty of copies of Scoop Up Net, as well as Air Balloon. Other cards just to kind of help us pivot into and out of Pokemon so we can recharge them with Dynamotor. Do have to include a copy of Manaphy to protect our bench since our Flaaffys only have 90 HP. Radiant Greninja since we want to put those energies into the discard pile to charge up with Dynamotor. 1 copy of Crobat just to draw some more cards, 2 copies of Level Ball, 4 copies of Quick Ball, and 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Again, just ways to get energy in the discard pile while we're also searching for our Pokemon to get them set up. 1 copy of Ordinary Rod to keep our Pokemon from lingering too long in the discard pile if they do get knocked out. We have 2 copies of Stormy Mountains. This is one of the best stadiums for this deck since you can just search for a basic lightning or dragon Pokemon. In this case, it's just going to be lightning Pokemon and put it straight to your bench. 2 copies of Boss's Orders, 2 copies of Marnie, 4 copies of Research, and 3 copies of Serena in the deck as well. And Serena being able to selectively discard cards from your hand, meaning that you can discard energies that way, or just thin out redundant cards with Serena. So this has a lot of synergy in this deck, plus the additional Gust option. And then just 2 copies of Speed Energy. These don't provide lightning energy from the discard pile, so we can't actually Dynamotor them into play, but it's just another way to get some additional draw through our attachment for turn. So that's the list. Let's get into some games. All right, getting into a game with our Flaaffy Lightning deck. Our opponent actually won the flip and allowing us to go first, which I'm not complaining about. Not sure what deck they're playing that they want to go second with, but we will see. A Palkia coin colorless deck box, so not sure if that's any indicator here. But we will definitely take that going first. Our opening hand, though, isn't the best. We can potentially get a Crobat out of this if we need to, and our opponent is playing Kyurem. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this lightning energy. If we want to grab the Mareep, Crobat is in deck, so that's good. We have the Medicham, both of our luckies. Okay, so we at least know that Crobat is in the deck. That's definitely something we want to see. I want this Zapdos in play. I want to hold off on this Quick Ball just because we might need to get Crobat on the following turn. Would love to have gotten another Mareep in play so we could potentially get an attack on the following turn, but seems like that's fairly unlikely. Opponent does get the Irida, so that's probably why they chose to go second. They could get the Irida into VIP pass, but definitely feel like you should just go first anyway, but that's my opinion. See if it works out for our opponent in this one. We do at least have the lightning weakness working in our favor against the Palkia, so we'll have to work our way through a Kyurem at some point, have to imagine, but having the ability to one-hit KO a Palkia at some point is definitely something I am excited to see. Meanwhile, our opponent's just getting everything set up. Their Rapid Freeze is going to put a bunch of energy into play. Getting a bunch on the active. And turn 1, 4 energy in play with a bench like that is not too shabby from our opponent. Top deck's not going to help us out at all. So I think we're going to evolve into this Flaaffy. Can Quick Ball away the Escape Rope, I think makes the most sense. We have to grab the Crobat, which feels very bad. And we could boss up this Oranguru, and I think I'm going to do that just to try to buy us a little bit more time. And Crobat for 5. Oof, and that is also pretty bad. Can play this Stormy Mountains though, get an attacker into play at least, so we could grab either the Regieleki or the Zekrom. I think I want to go in with the Zekrom since we're expecting that this is going to be the Kyurem attacking us next turn. Can Dynamotor to the Zekrom. Can attach from hand to it and then just pass to our opponent. See what they have. Of course, our hand is still not doing us any favors. And that is one problem with these decks, this Flaaffy engine, especially the single prizer decks like this, is that you can just have some awkward turns, some awkward starts. You don't have any real onboard draw like other decks do, so you are kind of just relying on your deck to actually cooperate a lot of the time. Once you get this board established, once you get a bunch of Flaaffys in play, the whole board is very self-sufficient, but you need to at least get to that point first. So hoping we can hold on long enough to get there. Our opponent will get a switch Kyurem VMAX off the Irida. And they have 2 Kyurems in play. I feel like evolving both of those right away might not have been the best idea. They could have actually taken a KO with the Kyurem V, because then they can evolve into the VMAX to get rid of the paralysis. So, and the V actually takes a knockout on the Kyurem, or the Zekrom, excuse me. So, opponent definitely, getting their board set up, but I think that was a play they could have looked at potentially. And they will discard an energy to get that KO. We can at least hit with the Zekrom here, so not the worst. Oh, we just take another energy. Not what we wanted to see. Could go in with the Stormy Mountains to get another attacker charged up, and I feel like I do want to do that. Just want to start thinning out our deck a little bit more. I think I will grab this Regieleki here, and we'll use that Wild Shock. We hit for 140, which is good. Opponent's going to use the concealed cards, and forcing them to burn that switch on the last turn. Definitely coming back to bite our opponent a little bit. They have that one less switch card. I'm not sure how many copies of Switch they actually play, but that will be the most important one for them to have access to, since we can just kind of keep stranding these Pokemon in the active unless they're... Oh, we get Marnie. Love to see that. Our hand was definitely very dead, and I think our opponent knew that. This makes me think that they play more Switch outs, maybe a Bird Keeper or something like that. Otherwise, I don't think that you would necessarily want to give me a new hand. And we did find some good cards off of this as well. Definitely like to see that. And they went for the... I don't know if that was a raw Glaciated World or if they intentionally stacked that VIP pass there. Opponent's going to Star Portal. Interesting. I wonder if they have a Escape Rope or something, maybe? just a pass, so we like to see that. And we get a Flaaffy we can evolve into. Can discard this energy with the Serena as well, which I think I'm going to go for here. Discard. I think we'll get rid of this Mareep as well. I just love to see some more cards. Love to keep our setup going a little bit. And we can Dynamotor onto this Alecki. Can attach to the Alecki as well. We have a Marnie for the following turn. We have an Air Balloon as well. So definitely got some good cards here. Put our opponent up to 280. That's great. Get the concealed cards. And I definitely think from our opponent, they should have kept that Star Portal around as an option. They could have actually gone in with Greninja at some point. But now that they've already used that Star Portal, I'm a little bit less scared of Greninja. I guess they could double Glaciated World, attach. But we are likely going to be taking down one of their Kirums this turn, assuming they don't hit another switch. So I'm a little bit less afraid of that Greninja, and at any point we can just go in and take a KO on this Palkia if we get that opportunity. And we could save this Zekrom with that Scoop Up Net top deck. So I think we're actually going to go in with the Scoop Up Net to pick up this Zekrom, get rid of those energies, put this back into our hand, put up the Flaaffy. And we can Dynamotor to the Alecki. We can actually take this KO with the Regieleki, which I like. Rebench the Zekrom, attach this Air Balloon, and I think I will just Marnie our opponent here. I've been able to set up some of their top decks a little bit, so definitely want to disrupt that, although our hand now is definitely not what we wanted to see. Can discard a Lightning with that Quick Ball, just grab out maybe the Medicham would be good at some point. I think I'll just grab this Greninja and hold on to that if we get a bench space that frees itself up. And Dynamotor once to the Zekrom. And I think I'm going to use this Training Court and attach this to the Zekrom. That way, in case our Flaaffy goes down or in case we need to just promote this and attach attack with it, we have that option. And we'll Terra Spark to the benched Kirum. And I guess the Oranguru, we could potentially hit that 2 more times, or we could hit it again enough to threaten maybe a Yoga Loop with it at some point. So I think that makes the most sense there. Take our 3 prizes, get some good ones. Definitely wanted to see those, like the Speed Energy, like the Scoop Up Net, and the Serena. Those are all really good finds. And Leafy Camo Poncho, so they will be able to deny us that free Gust. Definitely like that in this deck, and we get it with the Roxanne. I actually think this Poncho is a really, really good card in a lot of decks that it hasn't really been explored too much. I'm actually looking forward to exploring it a little bit more myself. We do get research off of that Roxanne, so sometimes Roxanne is a lie. Obviously, our deck is extremely vulnerable to hand disruptions. We don't have any really on-board draw, which is definitely why I wanted to get another attacker established last turn, just in case something like that were to happen. And they'll take the KO, go down to 4 prizes, but we still have so much time, can force our opponent to go through more of the single prizers. And I think I'm going to go in with the Zekrom here. I could theoretically grab Manaphy just because I'm worried that they could go double snipe on the Flaaffys at some point with this Greninja. I think we're just going to go in with the Mareep though. They would have to find a switch card, and they couldn't actually do it next turn since they only have access to 1 Glaciated World, so I'm not as worried about that. I think I will attach this though, since we are already down 4 energy in the discard pile. And research, we get some good cards here. I'd love to Dynamotor onto another attacker. I think I could just Dynamotor onto this Zapdos potentially, or even the Crobat just to give ourselves another pivot option, which I think I'll just put it on the Crobat just to give ourselves an additional pivot if we need to. Can retreat into the Zekrom and go for that Wild Shock. So now paralyzing our opponent again. We will be 10 short of taking a KO on the following turn with this Zekrom, but we could go in with one of our other attackers potentially if we're able to find those. We do have the Scoop Up Net to free up a bench spot if we need to, but for now it's definitely stranded unless they're able to get a switch card, which I'm not sure how many they actually play. They might play some air balloons, but those obviously won't be able to do anything while attached to the Kyurem that is paralyzed since they can't retreat. So they'll have to find a switch card. And again, not sure how many they play. I've still only seen the one. And this is where I was going back to saying that they could attack with the basic Kyurem V since it does 140 damage. Only 3 energy. It doesn't actually get KO'd and they just concede. Definitely didn't have any outs to get through that paralysis, so eventually we would have just stranded that Kyurem long enough to take the KO and the game. So there you see that power of paralysis in the new meta, especially after the results of Toronto where we saw an Articuno focused Inteleon deck with Charlie Locklear making top 4 of that event. I think a lot of decks are going to shift forward, moving forward into playing more copies of Escape Rope, Switch, Bird Keeper, things like that to potentially get around these paralysis options. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.